Hello everyone, I'm Tracy and thank you for being here today. So today's video is a very harrowing story about survival, and we're going to be talking to Jeff, and he barely escaped the fire on the 8th of August. And so you're going to hear his story and how he got away. And I'll be honest, I didn't do my homework when I did this interview because I didn't fully understand exactly what he went through until the next day. So I'm filming this intro after the fact. But this is just one of many stories that are out there. And I know a lot of people are experiencing a lot of trauma, and it's hard to talk about this tragedy and talk about the experience that some people had in order to escape. And now Jeff is very lucky. He's the last person to get out of the building that he was living in. And he does know that 7 or 8 of his neighbors did not make it out alive. And that is what I want people to remember, that yes, some people, such as Jeff, were very lucky and they did get away from the fire, but many did not. And those people cannot, speak and tell their story. So it's people like Jeff that are able to let us know what really happened that day. So thank you, Jeff, for your bravery and for reaching out. And Jeff has been a resident of Maui for 25 years, and he's a licensed therapist and teacher, and he is trained to help people that have experienced PTSD and trauma. So, but this whole thing has really put a halt on his ability to provide this service because himself is experiencing PTSD and he's not in a good place. So I'll put his PayPal information if you guys want to donate. So please do. He's been in a hotel, but he has been told that the funding it has run out. And so I think maybe he has till May. And I'll let you hear what his experience has been since this happened. Also, any earnings from this video, including any super chats, will be going to Jeff. And so anything that you guys can do, people like him really need so much support. And this is a topic that I do want to start doing more of. This was kind of Eric's domain, the victim advocacy and telling people's personal stories, but he's been busy with other things. So I do want to keep these types of things on the forefront and let anyone that has a story that they want to share, please send me an email, let me know somehow, and I will get back to you. So here is, oh, and I'll put my Venmo because if you don't have PayPal, you can send a Venmo and I'll just put a note for Jeff and I'll make sure it goes to him. So here is the interview. Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm here with Shane and Jeff, and I wanted to bring Jeff on to share with everyone his story of his experience on the day of the 8th, as well as another incident. And then he's going to kind of share what is going on currently, what the current climate is in his area, and I think the I guess escape story he has is very interesting, and I think stories like this really need to come out because it seems like there has been some sort of suppression going on, and a lot of people are afraid to speak out and tell everyone their story. So Jeff has been a resident of Maui for 25 years. He is a licensed therapist and teacher, and he's now semi-retired, but he's trained in trauma, so doing therapy for those who have experienced trauma. And also, you'll hear towards the end kind of what's going on with the housing situation. But if anyone wants to help Jeff, out, help him stay on Maui because that's where he wants to stay. I will link his Zelle and PayPal information for anyone that wants to donate. So with that, welcome Shane and Jeff. And I will start out with Jeff and explaining the day of, as well as a previous fire that you had experienced on another date. So Jeff, do you want to share your story with us?
Thank you, Tracy. Um, I guess the story begins at 1 a.m. of August 8th. That's when the wind started blowing very strong and continually without interruption from 1 a.m., knocking the power out, knocking cell service out, forcing us, those of us who were in that wind, to close our windows, to close our doors. Otherwise, we'd just get our apartment or house full of the dust and the dirt that was being blown around, the debris. And so in those circumstances, it was really tough to try to sleep that night because we had I had no fan, no air conditioner, because there was no power. Mm-hmm. And so it was a really rough night trying to get rest. About sometime after 6 o'clock, I was alerted to a fire that had started up at the intermediate school. So I was on my alert, and I guess I was in and out of my apartment that morning a couple of times, going to my car, getting bottles of water or taking empties out. And nobody was out that day. It was completely, the apartment complex had no traffic. I was living in an apartment complex with 36 apartments, 1-stories, and people would come and go. I mean, it was a windy day that kept people from going out. Okay. It was so windy that it would knock you down. It was like 50 miles an hour. Oh. And disorienting, the wind. And what was really confusing was the wind was coming straight down the hill from the mountaintop. Usually when we get wind from the higher elevations, it comes down cool. So we welcome that kind of a wind. Right. But it was hot the whole time, and it just kept getting hotter and hotter as the time went on. Mm-hmm. Very unnatural sort of experience. I remember sitting in my car after I had brought some empty water bottles from my apartment to my car. I sat in the car, and it was shaking the car at such a strong way. I kind of felt like the car was going to lift off from the wind. So that morning was confusing. There was nobody around. And I would contrast that with the previous November, because the previous November, a fire had started at the intermediate school. And on that day, the manager of the apartment complex was walking around, knocking on doors, telling people, prepare to be evacuated, because if the police come and they say evacuate, you've got to go.
Which intermediate school are you talking about?
It's
Here, I can share my screen and show where this is.
Yeah. So I think it's Lahaina Intermediate. I'm fuzzy on that. So you're looking at a map where you can see the bypass. Zoom out a little bit there, Shane. Good. So you can see the bypass is going north and then northwest and then west. You can see the ocean to the west on the left, and you can see to the right upper corner, that's Lahaina High School, Lahaina Luna. Mm-hmm. And then just below it is Lahaina Intermediate.
Okay.
So the arrow is pointing to the grassy area where supposedly the fire caught, was started. And so in the previous November, I can remember going out that night because I wanted to know, can I see the fire? And at that point in that November event, I could hear the earth movers, the bulldozers moving the dirt to break the fire from coming down from there. Of course, on that night, nothing, they contained it. It didn't go anywhere. It just stayed in that field. But on the day of the 8th, there was nobody walking around saying, prepare to evacuate. There's a threat of fire coming down. And in fact, I think it was 10:30, the manager of the apartment complex just left. She didn't knock on my door. She didn't say, Jeff, you're on your own. In fact, I had no.
At what point did you realize there was a fire and that it was coming?
Right. Well, let me get to that in a second.
Okay.
So, so at some point, I went back into my apartment after my trips in and out, and I lay down to listen to an audible book because there was no internet, there was no electricity. The best I could do is use my cell phone battery to listen to an audible book. And I think I started to fall asleep around 3, and at 4, I could hear alarms going off. So in my apartment complex, there is a string in every room. So if you fall down, you can pull the string to say, I've fallen down, I can't get up. But it's also the fire alarm. Same noise, same alarm. So at somewhere after 4, maybe 4:05, I could hear the alarms from buildings that were 3 buildings away. So Shane, if you zoom in, right where you're at, yeah, keep pointing there, keep going, right about there. Can you, so that's Kelawea. It's going from the top left to the bottom right. Yep. And that's the apartment complex. If you move your arrow to the right and up, that's the apartment complex right there. So there's a parking lot, and you're pointing right now at my apartment building. That's the building that I'm in. And so I opened my door at 4:05, and I felt this huge, it was like a draft sucking me towards the door. Pressure differentials. It's crazy. It was different than what it had been before. And as soon as I opened the door, I felt the heat and I smelled the smoke. And as I looked out, I could see the smoke billowing down. So if you move your pointer right, up a little bit more and then down, that's the building that the fire alarms were going off from. So I could hear them. There were a bunch of them sounding that, and that's what I think that's what woke me up, and that's what I heard when I woke up. And so that's where the fire was when I came out of my apartment. Now, if you go back to my apartment building and then go right, a little more, and then down, and then down a little more to the right. That's the office and the main hall and the laundry. So that building obscured my view of the fire. So I could see the smoke billowing, but I couldn't see any fire. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I walked out to the office and then walked around the corner to the laundry room. And then I could see that building's fire. The fire was like 10, 12 feet in the air. And the smoke was really thick black with occasional gray. It just was going from thick black to gray. I don't know what was burning, but something was changing the density of the smoke. And at the time that I was looking there, one of my neighbors, John, came out of his apartment, and I turned and I'm like, John, is there anyone back in there that we need to get out? And he says, Jeff, I'm out of here. He had a bag under one arm and a bag in the other hand, and he was walking very briskly to his car, which was in the lot, which is the space in front of my apartment. So there you go. Move the arrow down a little bit. So your pointer right now is in the parking lot. So move up just a little bit. Good. So right about there is where there was an air conditioning unit that was how the office and the hall had air conditioning. All the apartments had no air conditioning. If the residents wanted air conditioning, we had to put one in the window or some sort of a portable unit. But they had it was a unit that was surrounded by like stucco. Oh, there you go. Zoom in there.
That's as close as I could get.
That's it.
You.
So you can see the parking lot above that orange item. You see the orange item?
Oh, here, yes.
So there's the parking lot, and there are cars parked, and then keep going up the hill, and there's the main building. So if you look at the top corner of the parking, there, that's it. That's where that little alcove was protecting the air conditioning unit. So the fire was nowhere near that location. The fire was still up in that further, yes, up there. Nice pointing there, Shane. So as John and I are walking back, bam, that air conditioner exploded up into the air. It was like fireworks, spewing, sputtering, sort of like one of the Hawaiian volcanoes going off.
Now, would you say it was more like sparks?
Sparks and fire.
Okay.
Straight up 10 feet into the air. And as I was walking, it was about the time that I was walking by, it singed my hair. I could smell my hair burning.
Wow. Yeah, and the fire was all the way over here at this building still.
Yeah, there were no sparks. There was nothing to cause that air conditioning unit to explode.
Right. Gotcha.
The electricity was off.
Yeah, so the electricity was off and the building was on fire, at least 3 buildings away, it looks like. Yeah. And yet this air conditioner here was sparking and exploded. It almost seems like perhaps there was an induction occurring in the power lines in the grid that was going from one building to another. And the only explanation I can think of for that would be microwave induction.
Well, I could feel something very odd. I'm not sure that I can tell you what sense that I'm, proprioception or, I mean, the heat was obvious, the wind was obvious, but there was something about the pressure that made it feel very weird.
Okay.
So anyway, the air conditioning unit spurred me on. So I immediately went into my apartment and grabbed everything that I could fit into my back seat, which was some of my guitars that were kind of my life savings. So I did that in 3 trips. And on the final trip, I was in my car when a police car pulls into the parking lot. And so they back up and they've got their public address system. You couldn't hear because of the wind. It was just like a so nothing they were saying was going to affect whether I was going to leave or not. So as I got in my car and was buckling up, the police officer came to my window and asked me, is there anyone left behind? And I'm like, dude, where were you 30 minutes ago? Or an hour ago or something? Because I didn't know if there was anyone. I asked John if there was. As far as I knew, there wasn't. Well, it turned out that there were 7 people that died and 2 missing or dead.
Right.
So at that point, the police officer left the parking lot, and I was trying to follow him, but he left so fast I couldn't tell which way he went. So I then drove down to Kilauea, where you're pointing, and then I went down towards Lahaina Luna, which was down the hill, and I was going to turn right down Lahaina Luna, which would be away from the fire because it's coming down the hill. The problem, though, was that fire department had set up right where your arrow is pointing, and they had, I don't know if it was cherry pickers or ladders or what was going up 20, 30 feet into the air, and I could see the hoses, but I could not go down the road because it was totally blocked by their operation. And I didn't want to go up the hill because that's where the fire was coming from. So I turned around and I went up. That's right. Follow that arrow. And I went that way because there's another way to get out of my neighborhood. So I went, you're close there. It dead ends. Kilauea, keep going up there. So it dead ends there, and then I turned up to the right, and so that's going up the hill. And there, my neighbors were all stacked up. There were at least 5 cars, bumper to bumper, going nowhere. But they were trying to go. If you move your arrow up, can you see how that end loops around and goes down? So that new neighborhood to your left, go up, and yeah, all that green, all that straight street, and then the stream. So that's a way to go down, but I couldn't go that way because my neighbors were bumper to bumper. And mind you, I didn't want to get stuck bumper to bumper because as the fire's coming down,
Right,
I want to drive away from it. So I turned around and I drove from that intersection. I turned down that hill. So go down left, keep going. And I went down there into the smoke. And I went, I met a car coming out, and I'm like, oh shit, that's not the right way, because if that guy's leaving. But I kept going, and there was just smoke and nothing, no way to go. So I turned around and went back up to Kilauea. And by this time, the smoke was thick. And you can tell how there are houses on either side of Kilauea. And so, yes. So there, and 3 times I would drive under the fire as it went from the building to the right of your, to the left. So it was going from there to there. Thick smoke. I couldn't see what was on the other side of the smoke, but I had to go somewhere to get out. So I would drive through the thick smoke under the fire, and then I would see another fire jumping from one house to the next with more thick smoke. And so all I could do was just pray to God, and God said, go. So I went. And eventually, after 3 times driving under the fire, through the smoke, I got back to that intersection again. And so they were not doing anything. There was no water coming out, although Lahaina Luna was wet. So as I looked up the hill, there was nothing stopping me. The fire had now gone past Kilauea down the hill. Yeah, where you're pointing.
Yeah.
So that was my escape route, was to go now up the hill from where the fire had been. And so if you go up there, you'll come to, that's good. You see the loop that takes you around to the bypass. And so there were police that were stopping traffic from going down the hill. And I turned right on that loop and then got on the bypass heading back to Kahului. Mind you, I was scared to death that my tire was going to go flat, because during my escape, not only was there smoke all over the place, there were corrugated roofs that had been blown off the houses, and I had driven over them a few times. And so I had one of my tires had a slow leak. I didn't know how slow the leak was, but I was lucky. I made it all the way back to Maui before I was riding on a rim.
Was it clear when you got onto the bypass, or was there a lot of traffic?
There was traffic, but it was moving at a 45 miles an hour rate.
Okay.
I do have a question about the firefighters that were on the Honolulu Road.
Yeah.
I did hear a story that they got actually trapped there and had to escape in a police vehicle because their fire truck started to melt. And now, did you see like at what stage they were in fighting the fire? They were still trying to shoot water?
There was no, on both times that I was at that corner, no time was there any water being sprayed.
Okay.
My perception of where the police officers saved the firefighters was somewhere below there.
A little bit more Mackay.
Yeah, closer to the smokestack.
Oh, by Pioneer Mill.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't, there's no one that's done interviews of the fire department, of the firefighters, to understand exactly what was going on. They just sort of tell the scary part of the story. That's all I've heard.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So anyway,
go into the damage when you went back the next day, or 2 days?
So 2 days later, I made it back, and there was a checkpoint, but there was no one managing the checkpoint as of that time. They had set up a roadblock, and that was down the hill. Remember when I was pointing out that the road that I wanted to go, the back road?
yeah.
I came in that way.
Okay.
No one was manning it, so you happened to get in, but you weren't supposed to be able to go back. Is that my understanding?
Probably I wasn't supposed to be there, and I didn't really want to be there, but I wanted closure. I wanted to see
what happened.
Did my apartment burn down?
Yeah.
Is there anything left? So I walked up that hill and around the neighborhood into my apartment, and I shot a video.
Were there any like police or medical personnel, coroners, things like that? Official?
No.
It was just empty.
Me with a good friend and his wife walked up there. It turned out that they came across me as I was starting, and they joined me. So here I am. This is from above the property, walking down a ramp, and there you're looking across and seeing that's the building to the left that caught on fire first.
And then palm trees still have their leaves.
Yeah. Crazy what did not, or what did burn. And here's the apartment building above mine. Everything is gone. So the ovens and the stoves, they were left.
Did you see any porcelain?
No.
Okay.
Was there a smell? Do you remember?
Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible. It was like some kind of a chemical smell. Pause the video there. So now you're looking at, can you see the the washing machine?
Yeah.
On the left. So that's the laundry in the big building, and to the right is the office, and then you can see the corner of the what was protecting the air conditioning unit. Do you see the stairway? Yes. So you see the stucco. So the stairway was part of the protection. The air conditioning unit was on the other side of that stucco. And down.
Gone.
And that's what exploded down in that little protected spot. So I continued in my little tour. I walked down. I tried not to step on anything. I didn't want to get any poison on me. And so that's the building that I was in. There were 5 units. That's the one to my right, and that's mine there, right there. That's where I lived. That was my water heater. You can see some empty cans. Yeah, right around there.
Yeah, there they
That was
are.
my that was my in case of emergency. I had
Oh,
freeze dried and
Did
canned
you find
goods.
anything like that was you would think would be melted or burned that wasn't? Like I've seen
I,
pictures of
I
plastic.
didn't go in, Tracy. I just
Okay.
stood there at the before going in. Um, you know, there's arsenic,
Mhm.
there's asbestos, there's all kinds of neurotoxins.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm not going to tell you about the symptoms I'm still recovering from, but
Yeah, no,
it,
you didn't have, they didn't pass out protective gear, no warnings of that. Or I guess you weren't supposed to be there, but I noticed that people didn't have a mask, they didn't have any kind of protection in the earlier days.
no, no.
No.
In fact, they set up a distribution point in that shopping center that's in the middle of the burn zone to distribute water and food and stuff, which was
weird.
surrounded by the poison. So people that went to get help were getting poisoned.
Yeah. They say you're not supposed to drink or eat anything in that area. Like,
Right. Yeah.
and
And they
after
made you go there to pick it up.
you're
Yeah.
supposed to wash everything after coming out, your clothes. You're not supposed to keep that on you. That's what I read.
I was reminded of the scene after 9/11, how all the people went to clean up the site, and
Yeah.
the gal that then became secretary or whatever, saying, "Oh, it's safe."
Mm-hmm.
People dying horrible deaths because they were part of that poison.
Yeah. I do have some more questions to ask you as well. So did you see any unusual vehicles or people that didn't seem to belong there that you didn't recognize from the neighborhood?
No,
Okay. And then
There-
I guess,
the police officers at the top of the hill that
mhm,
let me out,
yeah,
I don't know what they were doing. I mean, if they were keeping people from going down the hill, yeah, that makes sense. But it was like they were trying to stop me, and I wasn't slowing down. I just,
right. Okay.
Did you
Did you
see
get a
their,
good look at their uniforms?
yeah, were they MPD or
yeah, they were Maui police,
police?
Maui County.
And they
Okay.
had their patches and badges and everything.
I think so. And
Okay.
there were 2 squad cars up there. Um, yeah, and I've run into officers and firefighters since then, and it's funny because none of them will look me in the eye. None of them want to
Hmm.
talk to me. It's
Strange.
there was one episode when I was at the Napili distribution hub, and they had there was a bathroom as part of that shopping center, and I wanted to go back there and use it, but they had sort of set up a control point there, the fire department, and the firefighter was like, "What do you want, Hallie?" And I'm like, "Just want some water and use the bathroom."
Mm,
You know, he was trying to bully me for no reason.
Hmm.
that's strange.
Now, I could see the police maybe doing something like that, but the fire department too, that surprises me and it disappoints me as well.
When I talk to other people that have survived with me, we all don't understand the police and the fire
Yeah.
Mm.
without a horrible explanation.
Why do you think more people aren't coming forward like you? Because there had to have been thousands that escaped, and very few
Well,
people actually tell their story.
it
Very,
happened so fast, Tracy. Dead people don't talk.
it was too traumatic.
Um, and when you go through trauma, you you don't want to talk about it sometimes. I mean, I have friends that, for me, it's therapeutic to talk about it because it was real, and I want to share it and I want people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I have like one of the neighbors from my apartment complex, she was one of the ones that got out early. Um, when I want to talk to her about it, she gets triggered and she becomes dysfunctional. She can't even talk.
Mm.
So there's a lot of lingering, unresolved trauma. And there, I mean, the governor's offering some sort of a preemptive uh, financial thing, but who knows what sort of people, what sort of bargains have been made.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry you had to experience this and lost so many friends and had to go through this, and now your home is gone. Uh, this my heart goes out to you, and so many people are so deeply concerned, but it does feel like there's a disconnect between the people there and the
Well,
outside.
when I ask people about the fire, they check out. It's like they know it doesn't make any sense. If we have storms, hurricanes, winter storms of some kind, the
Mm-hmm.
wind comes from the south. You know the term Kona
Oh,
wind?
the Kona winds. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at satellite images of the storms, they're swirling in a counterclockwise direction. So the wind is coming from the south, and it comes in bands. There'll be one band of wind and rain, and then a break, and then a band of wind and rain, and then a break. We had no breaks. It was continually strong wind from one direction with strong gusts.
Hmm.
And it was hot and not
And
cool.
it, and
And it
it was
wasn't coming
hot.
from the fire.
Wasn't coming Kona. So if it was Kona wind, that would make sense to be warm. But
Right.
this was, and if you look at any of those weather videos where they show the hurricane passing hundreds of miles to the south,
Yeah.
they
Yes.
show the winds affecting Maui in different ways, but none of them were blowing um, from the north or the east. It was all from the south.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how they managed to do that. But
So I do have another question about how, like, when people are asked about the fire and you said they just check out, do you get other kinds of reactions, like negativity from people? Like, what's the social climate like on Maui when it comes to sharing stories about the fire?
Well, 80% of the people are in denial. They don't want to entertain the idea of it being anything but a natural fire and wind.
Mm.
If you say, well, how did that air conditioning unit explode? They're like, oh, it was a spark.
mm-hmm. And then
But you were there and you saw it, and there wasn't any embers or anything like that.
And then they just check out.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah, there's, the hotel I'm in. There are many people who are in the 80 percentile of they know cognitively that it doesn't add up, but they're not willing to discuss it.
cognitive dissonance.
There's and maybe 15 20% of us, yeah, we know what's going on. And if we fear retribution if we speak up, we fear a reprisal. It's like people will have friends that are in the police department or in the fire department, and they don't want you talking stank about them. They stand up for them.
Yeah.
And then you ask them, well, where were they on the day of the fire? Then they go into the narrative of, well, they had to go to Kula to put out the fire. You know, just.
Yeah. All right, Shane, did you have any more that you wanted to make sure Jeff shared? Oh, I think we lost him. Okay. Well, I know you've been experiencing kind of getting bounced around from different housing situations, right, since this. You want to share how that has been and what you're dealing with currently as far as where you are now?
Sure. So I didn't come to the hotel the first week. I stayed at a friend's. I slept in my car for a couple nights, and then I was lucky enough to have a friend that let me stay in her spare bedroom. That only lasted 4 or 5 days, and then I I looked at um, an article on the internet, and it said that the Red Cross has set up shelter at hotels. So I called, and they referred me to this hotel that I'm in. So I came down here, and I was very lucky. This is like high-end property that I'm in. I think the room I'm in now is probably like an $800 a night room. And at first, I was in one of the really nice units with high ceilings and state-of-the-art kitchen and so forth. So I was in there for a month and a half, 2 months. So that went really well. But somewhere along the line, they went from saying, yeah, you can, we're good for you to stay here to the end of October, and then it was the end of December, and then it was the end of February, and then it was the end of May. So in the past 2 weeks now, they've been saying, no, you got to be out. You can't stay there anymore. We're going to move you to another hotel, and then we're going to move you to Kihei. So they have these what they call fairs where you can go ask questions, and they can see what resources they have for you. Of course, they don't have anything anymore. They've given away all the money they can, and really all FEMA is doing is trying to force people to take something in like Kahului or Kihei for long-term housing. There's nothing on the west side.
Yeah. Do you know what happened with I think the governor or the mayor was going to implement a law, like short-term could not be short-term. They had to be a long-term unit.
Yeah, that was the governor promising that he was going to come down on them like a ton of bricks or something.
Yeah, that never happened.
Yeah, he said a lot of stuff, like the business about the preemptive $1.5 million.
Yeah.
The idea of making housing, forcing people to go from short-term to long-term. I can see no sign of that. Now, what I can see is where FEMA has gone into people who have long-term leases and have had the owner in that lease so that FEMA can pay a higher rent and let some displaced person move into that place. So it's
a mess.
People who had a good place lose it because of what the FEMA is doing.
That's doing. Oh.
Yeah, there's and all these fairs are just, it's full of, I kind of feel like I'm in a sheep pen. No one's thinking, no one's really helping. It's just move along. Don't ask questions. The more questions I ask, the angrier the people get. They forced me to leave from the last one.
Yeah, we've heard that from other people too. They have the same experience.
And I say, so who is your boss? Can I talk to your boss? No, I have no boss. I'm like, you're a FEMA employee and you don't have a supervisor?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah, I also heard they cut off unemployment benefits, just cut them off.
Yeah, that was the 6-month limit policy.
Yeah. See, during the the event in 2020, that was, I think we got it for like 18 months.
Right. Well,
unemployment was extended.
uh,
No, not in this case.
no.
It almost feels like they're just trying to usher people out of the area.
Well,
Settled somewhere
my
else.
perception is they want Lahaina to be that 15-minute city.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's when they'll let me come back, is when they built these little
Modular home.
FEMA concentration camps.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Because they already have them over by the airport.
Yeah, a lot of people have seen them. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to let people know as far as what happened, what's happening now, things that aren't being spoken about?
Well, I want to thank you, Tracy and Shane. Not a lot of people are speaking out. Eric West does his best to do some reporting, but really, I don't know if it angers me, but it frustrates me. People from the mainland, like who's this guy, James O'Keefe?
Oh, yeah.
The
The
fake
undercover
report.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he sends guys out and they tell stories that are not true. You know, it's like anytime there's a crisis, it's an opportunity. And all these people come along and they're not authentic. They're not really here, and they're saying things that are not in fact true. So I want to thank you for. I've listened, I've watched all of your videos, and everything that you've shared is based on fact and evidence, not just trying to sell, you know, not clickbaity stuff, but authentic report.
I appreciate that. I do try to keep everything fair and balanced and not one-sided or too sensational. So thank you. I really appreciate getting that feedback. And yeah, anything we can do to help you or, you know, the people there, I'd be happy to share information because this has really been swept under the rug. And I don't know how long I'll be able to do it, but as long as I can, I will try to bring stories like this.
Well, if I come up with more information, I'll let you know.
Absolutely.
Because my ears are always open, and I'm starting conversations with people all the time. I'm not afraid to talk about it.
Yeah, so we need a lot of that. We need ears. I mean, because I don't live there, you know, I'm in California. So
yeah, it's good to know people who live there. They can report back to us on what's really going on.
So Jeff, I wanted to really thank you for speaking out and being so open with us. And I hope, you know, we'll keep in touch. Anything else that comes up, I'd be happy to relay it to our audience. And, you know, I've been really lucky I would say the last few weeks, we've had a pretty decent amount of people wanting to share their story. One is because she lost her job. So her job says she couldn't talk about this, and now she lost her job. Now she wants to come out and tell her story.
You know, I haven't been able to make a living since the fire, really. And it's like some of my clients, they know that I don't want to perpetuate the lie, the narrative. And so I'm not even seeing people because of that sort of, they have a fear of the truth.
Okay.
Right.
They don't want to hear about that. And I guess as a therapist, you know how unhealthy it is to not be able to talk.
Oh yeah, suppressing symptoms is not what we should do at all.
Yeah, and I'm hearing a lot of people are drinking and getting back into their addictions. I'm hearing a few of those. People are just not coping properly, right? Not having that support and PTSD and all these things that come along with it. But Jeff, thank you so much. And I'm so sorry to hear what you had to go through and what you're still going through and, you know, having to lose your property and everything in it. But I hope you'll keep in touch and let us know how you're doing. And anyone that wants to help Jeff out and help him stay in Maui, please donate to his Zelle and PayPal, and we'll put those links in the description. So with that, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Shane, so much. And we will see everyone soon. Thank you. Bye.
Aloha.